All of us have had experience with medical professionals at one time or another. We also have certain expectations on how our medical needs are managed. For instance, you haven't been feeling well, so you make an appointment with your doctor and sit in a waiting room with other sick people, sometimes much longer than you expected to wait. When you are called into the doctor's office, your vitals are taken, and then you start to tell the doctor your symptoms. The expectation is that the doctor will listen to what you say and will ask questions to gather more information. He determines that you need additional tests. They do blood tests, schedule x-rays or MRIs, etc., to gather as much information as possible to determine the cause of your symptoms. This process often takes days or weeks to complete. You return for a follow-up consultation, nervous about the news you may be receiving. But when the doctor comes into the office, he doesn't remember seeing you. He doesn't have any notes on the initial call, no results from all of the tests, nada. He tells you it isn't their usual procedure to keep records on each patient. How are you feeling about the service you've gotten so far? Not too good. You've wasted a bunch of time and money on tests and visits that have yielded you no answers. You decide you need a different doctor, so you ask the doctor for a referral to a specialist. You meet with the specialist and find out that he does not have any of your records. No history, no test results, nothing. You start the process all over again, telling him the symptoms and what tests the previous doctor ran, but that you don't know what the results were. The specialist tells you that he needs those test results in order to successfully treat you. What are your expectations now? Do you want to pay for all the tests again? Or do you want the specialist to contact the offices of the testing facility to locate the results? Of course, you want the specialist to run down those original tests so you don't have to go through that process again. Once the specialist has the diagnosis, you expect everyone on the medical team to all be on the same page, working towards your successful recovery. In order for that to happen, they need to all be able to access your medical records. Our expectations for our medical care are fairly universal. We want to be listened to, have the right tests to determine the cause of our symptoms, and a plan to fix the problem. We expect that records are kept of what was said and what tests were run, that all medical staff involved with your care can access your information, and that you won't have to redo or repeat any tests and conversations so as not to waste time. You also want your treatment to be specific to your needs, taking into account all of your health needs and circumstances. So why am I talking about healthcare expectations? We're here to talk about WIOA implementation. There are parallels between the professional services of doctors and the work that you do. Think about what we're trying to do for our WIOA clients. We are offering professional services, helping them find gainful employment, something that we typically spend 30 to 40 years of our life at, 40 hours a week, over 70,000 hours of their life. How important is that to them? Without a good job, could they have the type of life they really want? Can they provide well for their families? Will they find enjoyment in their jobs? I argue that the services we provide are just as professional and as important as good health care. Yet, we often resist doing the things that our clients expect of business professionals. Let's look a little deeper at the medical analogy. Patients go to the doctor to figure out why they don't feel good. It's a problem that needs a solution. Our clients typically come to us with a problem that needs to be solved, such as finding a job with a good wage, or assistance with training, food stamps, and housing. What is the first thing that a good doctor does when seeing his patient for the first time? He finds out basic information about the patient, which fundamentally is what we do with our clients. We all have some kind of intake process. He listens as the patient explains their reason for coming to see the doctor, and a dialogue begins. Isn't that exactly what we do when meeting a new client? We want to know why they have come to us and a bit about their history. Next, the doctor decides what he or she needs to do to solve the patient's problem. Often tests are required and perhaps referrals to a specialist. Isn't that similar to what we do? If the client can benefit from WIOA services, don't we have them take assessments, do some career exploration work, and refer them to other agencies when necessary? A doctor will put a treatment plan in place specifically designed for the patient. Often it could be medicine, change in diet and exercise, suggestion to stop smoking, surgery, etc. Our clients expect us to help them make a plan to get them gainfully employed. But how do we provide that type of professional service when so many people from multiple agencies are involved? Our information systems don't talk to each other, our staff are housed in multiple locations, and sometimes our clients just don't understand our processes. Wouldn't it be great if we had an established tool that everyone, clients and personnel from multiple agencies, could access for free from any computer with an internet connection? And wouldn't it be great if everything a client did was saved in this tool? And wouldn't it be great if every agency that interacts with that client could review all of the things the client has saved in that tool? And for those individuals who need reports on client and staff activities within the tool, wouldn't it be great to get those reports for monitoring purposes and staff and client accountability? Of course, the answer to all of these is yes, it would be great. Of course, you've probably already figured out by the title of this presentation that I'm talking about MCIS. Using MCIS together with Pep Talk, we can help our clients put a plan in place to achieve the goal of a satisfying job that pays a decent wage. Many of you have heard of and have used Pep Talk and MCIS for years. For the rest of you, this may be the first time you've ever heard of either one of these. Let me briefly explain both of them for those of you who haven't heard about them before. MCIS stands for the Montana Career Information System and is a career information delivery system that is customized for Montana. It is chock full of information including assessments, labor market information such as wages and projected demand, state and national schools, financial aid, resume creator, course planner, and job search tips and resources. MCIS is currently used in over 700 sites across the state and by 91,250 users. There is a version for middle school age students, high school students, college students, and adults. MCIS is free for all Montanans to use for their entire lifetime. MCIS contains an e-portfolio that saves everything they do in the system. They can start using it in middle school, transfer their account to high school, and then transfer on to college. Once they've finished their schooling, the system is available for them to use to help them prepare for the job search. As adults progress through their careers, MCIS is still there for them if they lose a job, want to prepare for a better job, or want to help their children plan their careers. For those of you who have not heard of MCIS or haven't used it much, here is a schematic of the content that is contained within the program. Career development is basically made up of 3 parts. Who am I? Learning about yourself. Where am I going? Exploring options. And how do I get there? Putting the pieces together and making a plan. Each of these are essential for good career development. We also have an additional component on getting and keeping a job. Let me go over each of these briefly. In our medical analogy, assessments mean blood tests, x-rays, etc., to determine what is going on inside of the patient. In order to move forward, the doctor must collect all the relevant information she can about the patient. In career development, learning about oneself means assessments and intake. MCIS has several different types of assessments, each providing a different way of matching to occupations. If you're interested in finding out about your client's best career pathway, then the Career Cluster Inventory is the best assessment to use. There are 2 interest inventories, the Interest Profiler and Ideas. The Interest Profiler is free, however, the Ideas assessment is not. It costs $100 per year per site with unlimited use. If work values are something you want assessed, then the Work Importance Locator is the assessment to use. Our favorite assessment to use with adults is the Skills Assessment. I'll go into that a little bit later. There is also the Self-Employment Quiz that helps your clients interested in being their own boss understand the traits that are common in successful entrepreneurs. And then there is reality check, which takes an individual's lifestyle choices and matches that to occupations that can meet that lifestyle. It's an excellent budgeting tool. Once a physician has the results of all the tests, he has to consider what the results are telling him about the patient. Often, diagnosing a disease isn't always straightforward. Sometimes it requires eliminating certain diseases in order to come up with a definitive diagnosis. In career development, the where am I going part is all about exploring options. With the results of the assessments in hand, your clients will look into the different occupational options and make decisions on which are possible occupations to pursue and which ones don't meet their needs. You'll notice that in this section we have information on Big Sky pathways, non-traditional occupations, military occupations, and self-employment. But occupational exploration is the meat of this section. Here is an example of the topics in each occupation. This example shows the accountants and auditors' occupations. We will look at several of these more closely. Each occupation has information including a general overview, helpful high school courses, work activities, skills and abilities, knowledge, and a host of related information. The physical demands section provides detailed information on physical demands listed by the frequency and importance of those demands for each occupation. This section may be especially important for vocational rehabilitation clients. Learning about the typical preparation methods is also important. Notice that for this occupation, typically 76% of those working in this occupation have a bachelor's degree or higher. That doesn't mean that a bachelor's degree is necessarily required. However, chances of finding employment in this field are higher with a bachelor's degree, and if there is interest in advancing in the career to a CPA, for instance, the degree may be required. Many occupations in Montana are licensed or require certification. The information is included in MCIS with direct links to the licensing authority. Wages are typically one of the first bits of information people are most interested in. Our Bureau collects all of the labor market information for Montana, and the wage information comes from our survey of Montana employers under the OES Occupational Employment Survey Program. The wages displayed include statewide, 5 regions within the state, the United States, and all of the other 49 states. This information is updated when new data are released. We list the median wage instead of the mean wage. The median wage is less affected by outliers and is the best wage to use for career development purposes. Notice that we also list wages at the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. These wage ranges make it easier for negotiating wages and for employers to use when setting wage rates to remain competitive. Outlook or demand is another important piece of the puzzle. There may be occupations with high growth but few openings, or low growth with many openings each year. Here we see there are approximately 172 openings each year for accountants and auditors. This is another area that includes data from other states for comparison purposes. This information becomes especially important when trying to decide whether or not to provide tuition assistance to a client. Your clients want to be sure that once they get more education, they'll be able to find a job, and you want the best performance outcomes as well. Speaking of finding a job, each occupation also contains a link to current job postings. This list is updated nightly. From this occupation, we find that within the state there are 37 openings. Each of these links will take you directly to more information on how to apply. We're adding apprenticeship openings to the job bank as well. How cool is that? There are also interviews with people in the occupation and short videos. These real-world interviews give a job seeker a behind-the-scenes look at the occupation. For instance, the first paragraph of this interview offers some interesting insights on the opportunities to look in different fields as an accountant, such as working for the FBI to investigate white-collar crime. Once your client has narrowed down the occupational choice, they enter the "How do I get there" phase. MCIS links every occupation to potential programs of study and all of the state and national schools that offer those programs. There are also thousands of scholarships and grants available. After all of the assessments and explorations and planning, the final step is finding that job. MCIS has more tools to help a job seeker do just that. The Resume Creator is a great feature for creating and saving multiple versions of resumes. As your client goes through MCIS, they will be building their resume. They can also upload a resume they have created outside of MCIS for safekeeping. This is all possible because you've had your clients create portfolios to save their information. The job search section helps a job seeker prepare for the job search and interviews. And lastly, once they have a job, they can use the Keeping a Job section to learn how to become a valued employee and deal effectively with some of the situations that may come up in the workplace, such as getting along with coworkers and supervisors or dealing with harassment. I know that sounds like an overwhelming amount of information. MCIS is a comprehensive career information system, which means it's like an encyclopedia. What we hear a lot is there is just too much information. Think about how much medical information you can find on the internet. All of the information may not be relevant to any one person at any given point in time, but when you need specific information, you can usually find it with a Google search. The same is true with career information. However, you don't have to use a Google search to find what you need. We've done all the hard work for you. But you may be asking yourself how you can best use MCIS without creating more work for yourself. You just don't have time to add one more thing to your workload. We understand that, and that's why we use Pep Talk to work with our clients. A group of people from the Department of Labor and Industry, Office of Public Instruction, and the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education worked together in 2009 and 2010 to create Pep Talk, which stands for Personalized Employment Plan. The talk part of Pep Talk is the career counseling case management component that you bring to the table. We received an incentive grant, and the three agencies decided instead of dividing up the money and doing our own thing, we'd work together to create something that would stand the test of time and would meet the needs of some of our hardest to serve clients. Because MCIS is like an encyclopedia of career information that could easily overwhelm people, we decided to create a streamlined approach, or curriculum, if you prefer that term, to quickly help our adult clientele navigate through the career decision-making process in the least amount of time, with the end result being a written, personalized employment plan. Without your professional expertise, many of your clients would go through the motions of career development without really understanding how to put it all together. Using Pep Talk makes it easy for you to assist your clients in creating an employment plan that meets their needs. Many of the activities can be done in a group setting, and others can be assigned as homework. The great part is that everything they do is saved in MCIS electronically and is available for you to review, follow up on, and coach them through the process. It documents what you do to fulfill the career counseling components under WIOA. The Pep Talk booklet tells you exactly what features of MCIS to use and how to use them. Here I'm showing you a report that lists all of the assessments a client has taken and the occupations that show up on all or some of the lists. This list links the assessment results to the start of the exploration part of MCIS. We can see here that plumbers and pipe fitters shows up in 4 of the assessment results. Going back to our occupational wage information, you can see here that the median wages for plumbers, pipe fitters, and steam fitters in Montana is actually higher than the median wage for the United States. Pep Talk will walk you and your clients through the process of exploring all the career options using MCIS. You don't have to create anything yourself to supplement Pep Talk. It's all laid out and easy to use. Simply show your client how to explore the occupational information and have them do the exploration on their own time. They can come back to you with a narrowed down list of options to discuss. There are several agencies throughout the state that have really embraced Pep Talk and MCIS and have had great success. One individual that stands out was introduced to Pep Talk and MCIS as she started working with an agency. And she ended up going to school in eastern Montana and then later transferred to Helena to complete her degree. She spoke at a conference I attended a few years ago about how going through the program changed her life. Of course, it wasn't just the Pep Talk and MCIS that helped her. It was the entire package and the team that worked with her. I can tell you she believed she got professional services from these folks, and she was telling everyone she knew about it. However, Let's look at what happens more often than not. We have a client take an assessment in MCIS, but we don't have them create a portfolio first. This is the same as going to a physician who records no notes on a patient. With no portfolio, the client has no record of the assessment and the occupations that match her interests or skills. They basically come away from the assessment empty-handed. If she is referred to another partner, the partner has no way to know what the client has already done and will likely have to have the client redo the assessments. If you were that client, how would you view this scenario? How do we change this scenario? We all need to understand how to use MCIS and Pep Talk and believe that when we use it, the client outcomes are better and so will our performance measures. We need to be trained as a group, working together to understand how to use it across agencies, to pull reports, and how to market the importance of it to clients. We have several communities who have done just that, pulled all of the community partners together and as a team gotten in-depth training, and then talked about how they would work together to serve clients using MCIS. The enthusiasm these folks came away with was amazing and contagious. Hopefully, as you break into your regions, you will be lucky enough to have some of these folks in your group. It's also more than just understanding how to use the tools we have. It's about using them correctly. For example, one of the assessments that is the most valuable, especially for our adult job seekers, is skills. Skills takes the hobbies and accomplishments of a client and matches the skills used in those with occupations. It has 3 parts: a worksheet to write down each accomplishment and check off each skill used, cards that are then sorted to prioritize the skills, and lastly, the skills are entered into MCIS. This is the way we train people to use MCIS in this assessment. But back at the office, often clients are just put in front of the computer and asked to do the assessment online without the other steps. Can you imagine as a patient going to a physician that the doctor would go from intake to surgery without doing the necessary assessments first? You would certainly question whether or not the doctor's choice of surgery was correct without any evidence to support it. It's the same with the skills assessment. Research has shown that the occupational matches of someone who has gone through the assessment the way it was designed are much better than the results of someone who just sat down at the computer. The results on the left are from someone who just sat down at the computer to do the assessment, and the results on the right are from someone who did the process correctly. Notice that the ratings are higher for the one on the right, which means that the skill matches are closer to the individual skill set. Sure, it takes longer to do it the right way, but we're talking about spending WIOA dollars on these folks, and we want them to be spent wisely. And remember, we're also talking about 70,000 hours of their life spent in either a good job or one that doesn't meet their needs. The skills assessment is the only assessment that can identify the skills that our clients have that stem from activities they enjoy, skills that are often hidden. It builds self-esteem at the same time we're helping them find occupations that match those skills. We also want our clients to come away with great jobs with great pay and spreading the news about the great professional services we provide them. So now that you know a little more about MCIS and Pep Talk, there remains the question: how do we use MCIS and Pep Talk to connect with the other partner agencies? MCIS has an administrative side. Every agency has one individual who's assigned the role of site administrator. Each site administrator has the ability to create staff accounts, run reports, and monitor activity. They also provide MCIS staff with a staff list of advisors. These advisors can then access the portfolio of clients across multiple agencies. For example, if a client starts to work with Voc Rehab and is referred to ABE, the ABE teacher will be able to see any assessments the client has already completed in MCIS. When the time comes to start working with job service, the case manager will also be able to see everything the client has done and can assist with training options, improving a resume, etc. For your client, it will be seamless, like the different agencies are actually working as a team. Just as in our medical analogy, no need to repeat things over and over again to each specialist. Everyone has access to the same information. MCIS is the only electronic tool we currently have available that every agency can access for case management purposes. There's no way I can go into detail about everything there is to say about MCIS. I hope that the illustration of a visit to a medical doctor somehow resonates with you, and you can understand why what you do is so important to your clients. You are the professionals that they need to make their lives better. All you have to do is use the tools we already have more effectively. Ask those who have done that and have become convinced that using MCIS and Pep Talk makes sense. Please contact our office to bring one of our trainers to your area to train staff in your communities and get you started. If you've had MCIS training before, please join your community's training session anyway. The training we will be doing for WIOA implementation will add components that highlight how to view client career development progress using the advisor feature in MCIS.